Okay, so here is the solution for question 2, right? Sorry, this is question 2. Let's do question 1. Okay, so to write the code for the Java code for this class, okay, class of car, right? Once again, very straightforward, right? You declare public class car, right? Registration number is a string that's private, so private string registration number. Okay, private string model, private int year. Okay, notice that it says integer, right? Capital I. If you change this to integer, that's actually perfectly fine if you are talking about your quiz or your common test. Okay, but in this case, integer represents int, right? It's just the way it's written. Okay, all right. Either one will work. Okay. Now, we see that stop is an operation of type public, right? It returns void, right? We have move forward, which is a public operation, returns boolean. Okay, and we have move backward, public boolean. Okay, so very straightforward. It's as you would expect. Okay, hopefully all of you have got pretty much exactly this. Okay, things to avoid doing: do not put capital P for public, do not put capital P for private, do not put capital C for class, and so on. Right? Java is case sensitive, and so am I. Okay, so if your cases are wrong, if I'm in a bad mood, I will take away half mark here, half mark there. They all add up. Alright, so don't give me an excuse to take marks away from you. Can? Yep. Okay. Right. To draw the class diagram based on this Java code, this actually pretty stupid Java code, right? We have a class called student, so so the class name is students right up here, right? We see a string, sorry, we see a name is an attribute that's private of type string. So we have the minus sign. Protected attribute called age, which is an integer. We use the hex sign, right, the hash sign to show that's protected. Public, we use plus. And when it's default, meaning that there is no visibility given, right, for the string course name, we use the tilde sign to show that it is of package visibility. Yes? Okay. Now, finally, when we see that there is a attribute that is declared as public static, right? We show that it's public, it is a string called university name, and the fact that it's static means that it's a class scope attribute. To denote that, we underline it. And finally, for the operation, it is a public operation, so once again, the plus sign. It returns a boolean, right? For Java, boolean is bool, B-O-O-L, okay? And then so the name of it is register module. It takes as an argument a value of type string, and I just give it the name module ID here, right? And then that's implementation. Once again, all of this is very straightforward. Okay, so any questions? Ken? Java boolean should be bool, yes. Ooh, that's true. So I think there was a typo in question 1. Or is capital B for boolean? I'll need to double check that. I tend to get my Java and C++ mixed up. So either way, we will I think, okay, basically what happens is that if you're going to do a conversion, um okay, if you want to do a conversion, you should use if you do a Java code, go ahead and do a Java. I believe Java is bool. Maybe it's boolean. I might have to double check that. Okay, so LL is asking, what do you do with derived attributes? Actually, you don't do anything. Okay, it is just an attribute. The fact that it's derived is information for the reader. Okay, so it just means that in certain operations you will update it. Okay, so there is no special code for derived attributes. Okay. Any other questions? Now, question is, how do I move over to manage presentable? Let's see. Here. Okay, so shall we continue with our lecture? Okay, so that's the first part, right? We are 1/3 done. It doesn't get that much more difficult than this. Okay, so really simple topic. Okay, now next let's talk about associations, right? What's an association? It is just a relationship between two classes. In this case, we have a salesperson liaises with clients. Right. Okay, and the thing about associations, right, is that multiplicity is very important. It gives a lot of information, a lot of information on the business rules that this class diagram is supposed to model. So in this case, we see that a salesperson, right, liaises with 0 or more clients. So actually, a salesperson is able to have, it's legal to have a salesperson object with no clients attached to it. Okay. However, we notice that a client must have exactly one salesperson liaison, right? Which means that it's not legal to have a client with no salesperson that is denoted as his liaison. Are we alright? Okay, so the thing about multiplicities, okay, is that there are many ways you can do multiplicities. For example, it can be 1 to 1, it can be 1 to 0 or 1, 1 to 1 or more, 1 to 0 or more. Okay, you can also have arbitrary numbers like 1 is to 3 to 5. Okay, so these values like 3 to 5, 0 to 6, right, it explains the business rules. Okay, so for example, if a student can take at most 6 modules, right, and it could have 0 modules, it hasn't registered for any modules, then there will be an association between student and module, right, and the multiplicity on the module side is going to be 0 to 6. Okay, so all of this is just refresher from what you already know. Okay, simple? Yep. Let's continue. Okay, so we have here's an example of 1-to-1 association. So in this case, a country contains exactly one capital, and a capital contains exactly one country. And the thing about 1-to-1 associations, right, you can think of it as these two things can be considered one object, right? Because every time we have a country, they're going to have a capital. Every time we have a capital, it is going to be a country. Okay, so neither of them are going to exist independently of the other. So a 1-to-1 association is almost like I am splitting one object into two classes. Yes? Okay. Then we have your many-to-many associations. In this case, an author writes one or more books. A book is written by one or more authors. So in this example, right, you're not allowed to have an author that has not written any books. So in this system, only if you have written a book will you be registered as an author. Okay, this gives you a little bit of information. It means that in this system, you're not allowed to create an author first. That author has not written any books. That is not considered legal in this system, right? Similarly, I'm not allowed to create a book without deciding who the author is. I cannot leave that blank because minimum is one author. Okay, so here now let's go on to how do you code associations in Java. Okay, in this case, right, we have a husband class and a wife class, and a husband marries exactly one wife, and a wife marries exactly one husband. Okay, so if you look at the husband class, where's my stylus? Okay, so if you look at the husband class, right, we let's just look at the husband class right now. By the way, is the noise in the background, is it distracting? That is my son throwing books on the floor. Is it distracting? Okay, fine. Okay, so first let's handle the husband class. Okay. Whoops, I just went forward. Let me sorry, let me clear this and switch back. Okay, so let's handle the husband class. Alright. To do the husband class, let's just handle this. What we did a few slides ago. Okay, we have a public class husband, right? He has a name that's private, which is a string. So private string name, private string job, private int age. Okay, we see that he has a set wife operation. Okay, And the set wife operation is public. It returns void, and it takes in uh, a parameter wife w. Oh, and I just and just by the way, this is wrong. Just let you know, this one and this one is wrong. Okay, it really should be w colon wife. Okay, and h colon husband. All right, this error is in all the other slides. Okay, so just take note. Okay, now the code for set wife, right? In this case, what happens is that we have what we call a reference attribute, okay, called my wife, and this reference attribute refers to this particular association. Okay, it is a private attribute. It is of type wife. Okay, and if I want to put my association role, I would put in here my wife. Okay, who can see my drawings? Some of you can see, some of you can't. This is very interesting. So that's strange. Oh, it's Mac? It's a Mac issue. App version can't see. Okay, if that's the case, I will try to describe it as I'll try to describe it as well as I can in words. Okay, but I'll continue writing on annotating on the slides. Okay, but you should be able to see the full thing on the recording. Okay, so I will upload the recording onto YouTube later. Okay, hope that's all right. Okay, so at this point, right, what happens is that notice that we have your set wife operation. Okay, and what set wife does is very simple. It assigns to the reference variable my wife the value w, and w is essentially the parameter of the set wife operation. And okay, if you notice, the association has no arrowheads, which is the same as having two arrowheads, right? Okay, this means that husband must have reference to wife, and wife must have reference to husband. So in this case, when the husband sets the wife must also set the husband. So that's why we call the w.setHusband this. Okay, we tell the wife, please set me as the husband. Okay, and the keyword this refers to itself, the husband object. So far so good? Any issues? Can so this would be how you would code this particular association for the husband. Alright? Now let's look over on the wife side. Okay, so on the wife side, we're going to do exactly the same thing. Public class wife, declare its attributes, right? Declare a reference attribute called husband, right? In this case, it's called my husband, right? And then we do the same thing for the set husband, where it will set the my husband variable to be the parameter, and then it will call h.setWife, right? So because when after I set the husband, I have to tell the husband object, hey, please set me as your wife. Can? Right? Now, given this code, can any of you see any issues with this? If I was actually to code this class diagram in this manner, will there be a problem? Okay, one question Hansel is saying, what if we set more than one wife? Yeah, that might be an issue, but then there will be more logic in it, right? But actually, you won't be able to set more than one wife because it's going to override your single wife attribute, right? Okay, so that's not an issue. What? Okay, so let me just say, suppose I have a I think Jihan has got it. Okay, but let me write it down. Okay, so suppose I have a husband. H. Can you all see what I'm typing? Okay, so if I declare this and I say H dot set wife W. Okay, alright. So suppose I run this code. Let's trace it. Okay, I'm going to start with the husband. Okay. You notice that we have a public dot. Sorry, we declare a husband object. Okay, and then we call H dot set wife W. So what will happen is that the computer will set the my wife attribute in the husband to W, right? And then call the wife's set husband operation, W dot set husband, right? Then we go back to the 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 wife's set husband operation. So wife dot set husband, it will set the my husband to be H, and then it will say H dot set wife. Then H dot set wife will call set husband. Then it will call set wife again, right? Okay, so it's just going to ding dong back and forth. This is going to cause an infinite loop. These kinds of errors are the most annoying because you code it, it will compile properly, no syntax errors, it will run, and then it will just hang there. Okay, and you won't even know, I mean, there'll be no error messages or anything. Okay, so this is one of those things that you need to take note of, right, when you're coding, right? That there may be an issue when you are doing, this is just a setter, right? It's a very simple operation. But when you're doing trying to set up an association in this case, right? Link two classes together, right? This is not the way to do it. Are we alright? Okay, so the issue is that we have an infinite loop. Is everybody clear on the issue? Is everybody clear on the issue? Okay, right. Alright, so how do we resolve this issue? Actually pretty straightforward. Okay. In addition to writing to saying my wife equals to W, right, and setting it, all we really need to do is, let me just do this. Okay. All we really need to do is we start a new if statement. Okay. If my husband is not equals to H. So if my husband is already set to be the parameter, right, then you don't have to do anything. Okay, so enclose all the code inside an if statement. Right? So if we want to trace it, the first time I call set husband for the wife, right, assuming that the husband is a different value, right, then you're going to set the new husband. Then you do h dot set wife. Okay, we do h dot set wife, and then if my wife is not equals to W, I think I skip over 2 slides, right? And then after that, it's done. Okay, because once you do W dot set husband, it will show that, oh, my husband has already been set to this value, I don't have to do anything else, the infinite loop ends. Okay, very simple. Okay, no questions, right? Okay, so here is one question that I'm sure has come into everybody's mind, right? What if a husband can marry many wives? Everybody knows, is thinking about it. That is very, very simple. Okay, instead of having a set wife, you have an add wife. Okay, and because it is a one-to-many association, instead of having an attribute called my wife of type wife, we will have a collection class, right? In this case, I'm going to use a vector. You can use an array list or something else. Okay, and in this case, it's going to be called my wives. Okay, in my constructor, I am going to initiate the my wives vector. Whoops, has something gone wrong? Everyone's logged onto my video. Okay, alright. So in the constructor, I'm going to initiate the my wives vector to be a new vector. So just basically, I want to clear it. Then instead of having a set wife, I just do my wives dot add, because now my wives is a vector. okay, inside add wife. Okay. Same thing, we want to make sure that we don't end up with infinite loop. So we say if it's not the case that my wives contains the wife object in the parameter, then I will add it. Otherwise, already one of my wives, I won't do the adding. Are we okay? Yeah? Very, very simple topic, like I said. Any issue so far? Okay, we are 2/3 done. Alright? Now, so in the wife class, once again, it's the same, right? Set husband. Okay? Let's now talk about association classes. If you recall an association class, it is a class that is attached to an association, and we say that an association class only makes sense if the association is a many-to-many association. Okay, so in this case, a customer may purchase multiple products. A product may be purchased by multiple customers. Okay, so for example, I have a customer John, right, and he purchases a product called Samsung TV. Okay, we want to find out at which date and with which invoice number was this purchase made. Okay, therefore we create a container class called an association class called customer product in this case. Right, now take note, even though we say that an association class can only be created if it is a many-to-many association. That does not mean that if there is a many-to-many association, there must be an association class. Okay, so don't make it so that every time you see a many-to-many association, you automatically create an association class. Okay, that is not required. You only create association classes if there is some data or some operation that you want to do based on that association. Is that clear? Okay. Now, so in this case, right? So for this association class, how do I write it into code? Okay. Think of an association class as actually a way to create a three-way association. So when I have a customer product association class between customer and product, you are actually having you're kind of creating a three-way association between customer and customer product and product, as well as the original association, customer and product. Okay, so think of it as a three-way association. So the first thing we do is let us declare the customer product association class. Right, customer product association class, we will have its attributes, private int invoice ID, private date invoice date. Okay, but not only that, it will have references to both the customer as well as the product. Alright, okay, so we have a private attribute called CUST of type customer, which refers to one end of the association, and we have another one of type product, which refers to the other end. Okay, simple, right? Now, after that, for the customer class as well as the product class, it must also refer to the customer product class. Okay, so for the customer one, it will have a private, some kind of collection class, right? CP list. In this case, a customer product list. And similarly for the product. And that's how you do an association class in Java. Yes? Any issues? Am I going too fast? Can, right? Okay, so really think of an association class as a three-way association. Okay, and then you code accordingly. Okay. So if I go back to this, to the previous one, this is essentially a one-to-many association, and this is essentially a one-to-many association. Those of you who are unable to look at the annotations, just imagine what I'm saying, and maybe take a look at the recording. Alright, so sorry for that. Okay. So that's association class. At this point, let's pause and take a look at activity 2. Presentable, we have this one. Okay, so in activity 2, I would like all of you to go ahead and do activity 2, which is to create the Java code for this association class. So as usual, just type it in a WordPad somewhere, okay? And I'll give you maybe 5 to 10 minutes, okay? And when you're done, inform me, and then I will proceed, okay? So I will stop the recording right here.